From his throne, Hades watched the new arrivals. Most were unknown to him, but one sorcerer, Adam, caught his eye. He was twitching, looking to fight and escape. They always wanted to. Hades could never understand why some people didn't enjoy their time spent in the underworld. Oh, he had heard it all before. I don't belong here. No, this is wrong. Well, dealing with that was part of his job. Smiling, Hades descended. Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Today, let's meet one of the most infamous Greek gods of the dead, Hades. I'm sure most of you are at least somewhat familiar with the name Hades. And I must say that Disney's Hercules really did him wrong. Truth is, he is amongst the best and nicest of the Greek gods. Okay, that is actually a pretty low bar. Let's clear something up real fast too. Hades is the god of the dead and the underworld, yet it is Thanatos, which is the god of death. Slight distinction, it might confuse a couple of people. Hades is the eldest son of the titan Kronos and Rhea. Now, you may have heard, but Kronos was a contender for the Worst Father in Mythology award. You see, there was a prophecy that one of his children would overthrow him. So Kronos swallowed his first 5 children when they were born. His 3 daughters, Hestia, Demeter, and Hera, and 2 sons, Hades and Poseidon. The birth order is contested. Some say Hades is the oldest of all, but others, the sisters are older. Regardless, they didn't die, but kept growing inside their father's stomach. Yeah, not a fun picture, and explains a lot of their behaviors. But remember, only Zeus wasn't raised in Kronos' belly, all cramped up while battling his stomach acid, only eating what he had swallowed and drank. Yeah, you can see why they would develop rather callous personalities. A Lord of the Flies scenario, with 5 gods stuck in the belly of a titan. Well, in time, there was a 3rd son, little Zeus. Now, this is a Hades video, and not a Zeus one, so we will fast forward a bit until Zeus was an adult and rallied an army, including the titans Prometheus and Epimetheus. This would be a war known as the Titanomachy. In a grand battle, Zeus was able to force his father to vomit up his 5 siblings, all fully grown and itching for a fight. It would take a decade, but the gods won, and Kronos was sealed in Tartaros, in the eternal abyss even below the underworld, though you may see them blend at times. Now, a new problem arose. The 3 sons of Kronos each vied for lordship over the world. But they did come to an agreement. Lots. The world was divided into 3, the sky, the sea, and what was below. Well, as you can guess, Zeus got the sky and became the leader of the gods. Poseidon claimed the seas, and Hades was left with the underworld. Hey, don't feel too bad for him. You see, that also included all the gold and gems that could be dug up. So he actually made out like a bandit. The underworld was surrounded and comprised of 5 rivers: Acheron, Cocytus, Phlegethon, Styx, and Lethe. And the 3 gods ruled their respective realms in relative peace for a time, minus quite a few scandals and affairs and other such behaviors. Now, there are several comics floating around the web about Hades and his lovely wife Persephone, and that is quite the story. As you can guess, being the god of the underworld doesn't bring you into contact with too many lovely women, and Hades got lonely. So he talks to his brother Zeus, who had a daughter with his sister Demeter, named Persephone. I keep telling you, Greek mythology makes for some crazy family drama, and Zeus gives his daughter to Hades as a bride. Hades sees her picking flowers in a field, and is instantly smitten on sight. Depending on the tale, either by force or coercion, Hades gets Persephone onto his chariot and takes her to the underworld. For some time, Persephone hangs out with Hades, but her mother Demeter is storming across the world looking for her daughter. She has cursed the world to remain barren. No plants will grow. If it continues, humans will starve, and the gods will never receive any more sacrifices. What a calamity! Those poor gods would be so miserable if they don't have mortals there to heap praise upon them. Eventually, the gods convinced Zeus to send Hermes with a message for Hades. When he got there, he found Persephone chilling on the couch with Hades. Now, what do you think the god of the underworld did? Well, you're probably thinking that he would simply say no. Just refuse to give her back. Sit there defiantly until an army of gods came to take her back. Nope. He got his chariot ready, gave Persephone a meal made of pomegranate seeds, and gave her a ride right to her mother's temple. I told you, he is an upstanding guy. Well, until Demeter asked her daughter a single question. Did she eat anything while in the underworld? Like, say, those pomegranate seeds? Yeah, he created a bond between them, which Demeter couldn't break. But they came to an agreement. Persephone would spend 2/3 of the year in the mortal realms, and then 1/3 in the underworld, where she would rule as the queen of the underworld. While there, the land would go dormant and would get winter, but spring would come when she returned. Okay, Hades isn't that bad. At least compared to the other gods, right? It's not like he had dozens of lovers, right? Well, at least 3. A nymph, Luce. Again, Hades abducted her, and she would remain there until her passing. At which point, he would travel to Elysium, also called the Elysian Fields, a part of the afterlife which would include those of divine heritage, chosen by the gods and their heroics. So, a pretty standout crowd would be permitted to rest here. Hades would then bring a massive white tree to mourn her. This seems to have happened before Persephone, so probably not cheating, which for a Greek god is an accomplishment. There was also Minth, another nymph that lived near the river Cocytus, so she was already in the underworld. Now, there's some disagreement on the timeline and how things played out. In most, Hades leaves her when he marries Persephone. I guess that is a point in his favor? Sort of. But he does take her back in some. She would brag about being more beautiful than Persephone, who, like most goddesses, didn't take it well. In fury, she ripped Minth apart and trampled her pieces, which either by Hades or Persephone's power would become garden mint. Yeah, there is a reason people call Persephone the dreaded goddess. With Persephone, their children would be Zagreus, Macaria, Elonia, the twins Plutus and Philomenes, and the Erinyes, or the Furies, Electro, Megara, and Tisiphone. With the exception of the Furies, all of them are the children of Persephone. The Furies are sometimes said to be the children of Hades and Nyx, but also said to be the children of Gaia and Uranus. So maybe some infidelity? Now Hades had challengers for Persephone. Theseus and Perithous once snuck into the underworld to take Persephone away to be Perithous' bride instead. But Hades was too smart and presented a feast for his guests. As soon as they sat down in their chairs, they were bound in place, unable to move. Heracles would eventually come and free Theseus, but Perithous was either left or slain by Cerberus. Now, what was Heracles doing down there? Well, one of his 12 tasks was to bring Cerberus, King Tyrannes. And guess what? Heracles just got up and asked Hades to take his dog for a walk. Now, he had to return him, else the spirits of the dead could escape back into the mortal world. But there was a second condition. Heracles had to take him without weapons. In most, he succeeds, but in few, Heracles gets mad and strikes Hades. Overall, that is pretty nice of Hades. Let his nephew take his dog out for a little walk. We do have one more account of Hades being vindictive though. And that is poor Sisyphus. The river god Aesopus' daughter, Aegina, had been taken by Zeus, and it was Sisyphus who revealed her location. Zeus then sent Thanatos to bring him to the underworld, and our clever mortal tricked the god of death to take his place. Now, so long as Thanatos was trapped below, no one could die. Ares then got sent to get Thanatos out, and brought our poor mortal. Now, Sisyphus had asked his wife not to perform the proper funeral rites. When Hades learned, Sisyphus then asked if he could go and punish his wife. And Hades, being the upstanding guy he was, just let him leave the underworld, so long as he returned afterwards. Oh, and he didn't punish his wife, nor did he come back. Now, you may have noticed, but Hades is smart and patient. He just simply waited for Sisyphus to die of old age, then he got his revenge. He forced Sisyphus to push a boulder up a hill, but when he got to the top, it would just roll back down. And he'd have to do it again, and again, and again, for all eternity. Well, what do you expect when you, a mere mortal, tries to cheat a god? So what do you think? Does Hades deserve the title of the nicest god in Greek mythology? Well, we got Zeus and Poseidon, which tried to seduce literally anything which is female shaped. We got Hermes, which right after being born, murdered a turtle to turn it into a harp. We got Apollo, who cursed a woman for rejecting him. Aphrodite and Eros, which loved creating affairs and scandals, and ruining marriages. Demeter would have killed the world if she couldn't find her daughter. We have Dionysus, who started a war over alcohol, and Hera, who smacked her newborn son Hephaestus off the top of Mount Olympus for being born ugly. Okay, Hades did trick a woman into being his wife, and did abduct a couple of women. Yet he wasn't going around having constant affairs behind their backs. Overall, he seems fairly loyal. And he was trusting enough to let a mortal leave without any collateral that he would return. So yeah, he is a pretty good guy. Okay, he's decent, or just passable, but still, that is something amongst the Greek gods. But there were better deities. Wouldn't you agree? Adam looked around. He was still processing what had happened. Smiling, the Lord of the Dead approached him. Instinctively, Adam readied himself for a fight, and was met with laughter. Did this foolish human really think he stood a chance? They always did. Sheesh, mortals could be so rude. Hades is probably one of the most fair and trustworthy of the Greek gods. Wouldn't you agree? He has shown a great deal of cunning in his actions. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Why don't we revisit his little puppy dog next time? Cerberus. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.